Today, I'm going to show you how to get more high-ticket patients into your med spa using more overlooked route. So most med spa clinics want more PRP, Botox, and more recently peptides and HRT patients. So I'll show you how to get more of those patients in your door. And this is a more strategic way to consistently get those patients in, which is mostly overlooked. And that's because most med spas fail and play the short game. They want instant results. But this is a more strategic method. So with that said, let's dive in. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen briefly to show you the opportunity that I found, which largely comes down to that facials are the workhorse of your med spa's patient acquisition engine. So I was working with a med spa in Denver and one in Montreal. And when I did the keyword research, when I was doing the research, I realized that in both markets, facials were one of the most in-demand treatments that there were. So when I typed in facial Montreal, notice 3 med spas show up at the top. Okay, one of them has 90 reviews, and one of them has 154, which is very beatable for most med spas that I've come across that have more reviews than that. That's a very reasonable goal to be. And you can bump them and get into this map pack. And why would you want to do that? Well, let's take a closer look at New Age Spa, who ranks in the first slot. So you can tell they figured this out. They've got 760 reviews. They've been largely successful because of this ranking. And I'll show you that they get around 12.8K monthly visits to their site every single month. So this is New Age Spa. You can see 12.8K. And most of that traffic comes from facial related keywords. So esthetician in Montreal gets almost 10K searches. Facial near me, 12.1K. Facial Montreal, 880. Facials and spas, hydrofacials, 2K, 600K, 600 searches. So that's over 25K in monthly searches. And this isn't unique to the Montreal market. So when I did the research in Denver, while it wasn't as big, it's still a very large number, 2,180 monthly searches for a facial. These are the keywords. And while it's still less than Montreal, it's almost twice of what the Botox searches were in Denver, which is one of the highest ones, 1,300 compared to 2,000. Right. So you're probably thinking to yourself, these are still low ticket services, but let me show you why this is a better front end acquisition model. All right, so I wrote these on cue cards. They might be reversed for you. If that's the case, I'll just edit the video so that these show up. But the reason why facials are really good front end is that it's easier for patients to say yes. So let's be real, is that there's a certain level of artistry when it comes to injectables like fillers and Botox, and the more in-demand, recently demanding services like HRT or peptide therapy, they're more complicated. They require more education. Facials are different. They're easy to understand. Patients don't need much education, recovery time, and so they're less expensive on top of that, and they're low risk. There's not much recovery time. So in the patient's mind, there's less chance of a mistake being made. They don't have to walk around with months for that mistake. It's an easy way to say yes to the med spa and try you out. The second reason this is a good idea is that it builds patient trust and relationships. So once the patient comes in and gets the facial, they start to build trust with their esthetician. It's a very intimate thing, providing a really relaxing service that reduces stress. They're talking to them, they're getting to know them, and it's fun for them to enjoy, and they get to see if they like your med spa. And here's a really powerful marketing secret, is that once someone has already spent money with you, regardless of the amount, it could even be $1, it could be $7, they're now infinitely more likely to spend money with you. They're now buyers, they're no longer leads. So really, there's a quote that's really important. It says the purpose of a sale is to acquire a customer, or in our case, a patient. It's not to make money. So I'll go more into that later, but that's the goal of the facial, is to acquire a new patient, not necessarily to make bank on them on that first visit. The next reason this is really important, and I think this is a really powerful one, is that it keeps your esthetician's chair fully booked. So the reason I was working with the med spa in Montreal is that their esthetician was basically had two jobs. My girlfriend was getting her nails done, and the esthetician was also a nail tech part-time because her hours got cut at the med spa. They didn't have a full-time full schedule booked. So that's stressful. No one likes that. It's not a fun conversation for you to have. It stresses their hours get cut. It stresses them out. They do a less good job. They're running around doing two jobs. So they'll be more motivated. I think that really speaks for themselves. Get it booked. It keeps their schedule full. You're paying them a salary usually. It's just nice to have them there. And later on, we'll talk about how that could be really advantage to you when it comes to upsells. So the next reason, and I think this is more of the marketer reason, is that it generates reviews. Reviews are really the lifeblood of your med spa. They help you rank locally, so acquire patients, but they also help with conversions. Reviews are one of the number one factor when it comes to people actually calling and booking with your med spa. So they're twofold. You just have to really make sure that you have a review generation strategy in place, whether that's asking them verbally, having a QR code. And this will help you rank for all your services, not just facials. The next reason I think this is great is that you do not need to discount your high ticket services. You keep them high. Facials, nobody wants to be the discount spa, attract coupon clippers. Being cheap is not a good look, and attract the wrong kind of patients to your door. However, facials are inherently low risk. And if you can get new patients in your door with low ticket facials and keep your high ticket services high, then you have a formula for success. As long as, and this is really important, you develop an upsell strategy. So this is the most important part, because the first part is all about acquiring the patient. This next part is about monetizing them. So remember I said the purpose of a sale is to get the patient. Well, the first sale should be hello and not goodbye. This is the difference between the front end, which deals with acquisition, and the back end, which deals with monetization. So here's how you can actually monetize from those facial patients. I wrote 4 points. These might seem obvious to you, but maybe they're not. Number one is to train your estheticians on the upsell convo. Just as an example, I went in one time to get a facial, and I was talking with the esthetician about I have some acne scars, and she started talking to me about microneedling, laser, and I was like really into the conversation because it was relevant to my facial goals of removing scars. So keeping them accountable, responsible for upsells, tracking that, training them to have those types of conversations. They happen naturally. People are with them for an hour getting a facial. There's trust that gets built. It's a really natural upsell conversation. Next, book the appointment before they leave. So, just asking, like, do you want to book that micro needling session that we talked about in 4 to 6 weeks? Or, if they're talking about Botox with you, saying, well, in 6 months, it'll be time for this or the next thing. Just booking the next one before they leave. It's pretty simple. Number 3, set automated follow-ups. I really like Go High Level for this. You can use whatever you want, but Go High Level is awesome. You can track the phone calls. You get their contact information. You can use it in your calendar. You can send SMS and email. You can use it to ask for reviews. So just basically following up at specific intervals, depending on the plan that you spoke with them about, keeping all that stuff organized in their file. It's just having a good system, so you're not like manually doing this. And then the last thing is really offering personalized treatment plans and not one-off services. So, rather than coming in for just a one-time $150 facial, for your skin goals, I'd recommend a 6-month plan of this plus that, and especially with the oncoming demand for like services like peptide therapy, people don't just want to come in for one-off service. They want, if someone's coming in for peptide therapy for weight loss, body sculpting might be a natural upsell, and creating a 6-month to a year plan for them with nutrition coaching. It's more than just a one-off thing. And that's really the way that the med spas that win going forward are going to do this. So the bottom line is that rank locally for facials to get new patients in the door, and then have a system to move them up the value ladder. If you like this, if you found this helpful, leave me a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll leave a link I wrote a newsletter article about this with a helpful resource inside. You can get my patient acquisition blueprint that I use to help med spas rank locally. With that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.